You know, usually when you wake up in the middle of the night, you instinctively try to blame something physical.
Oh, absolutely. Like the room is too hot.
Right. Or, maybe I shouldn't have had that extra slice of pizza so late.
Huh.
Or it's just like stress about some email I need to send tomorrow.
Yeah, we always want a simple, logical, easily fixable reason.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because then you can just flip the pillow over to the cool side, close your eyes, and, get back to sleep.
Right, because a mechanical problem has a mechanical fix. We reach for the thermostat, we take a sip of water, maybe we do some deep breathing. It's just incredibly comforting to think that the disruption is just biology acting up, It gives us a sense of control over the dark.
Yeah, it really does. But then, you can't find that mechanical fix. The water doesn't help at all. The room temperature is perfectly fine.
And you're just awake.
Yeah, just awake. Welcome to the Deep Dive. I'm your host, and today we're exploring an incredibly fascinating piece of writing called What Your Dreams Whisper at 3 a.m.
It's a really stunning piece.
It is. It's this poetic, almost hypnotic exploration of the repressed self. And it completely shatters the idea that your 3 a.m. wake-up is just about biology.
It really does.
We're going to decode what that midnight voice of anxiety or just that weird restlessness is actually trying to tell you.
And that's really the mission today. We are taking these beautiful, sometimes haunting psychological concepts and translating them into a practical understanding of your own mind.
Yeah.
We're going to connect the what of those strange, unsettling midnight feelings to the why of your waking behaviors. Because honestly, that wake-up call is never accidental.
No, never. And to really get this, we have to put you, the listener, right into the visceral experience that this piece describes.
Right into the room.
Exactly. Imagine you are lying there staring up in the dark. The room suddenly feels like it's not quite yours. The walls seem to be breathing softly in and out, almost like the ribs of a sleeping giant. The ceiling isn't just boring white plaster anymore. It feels like the underside of a dark river, with these vague shapes drifting by.
It's that heavy liminal space between waking and dreaming. You feel a physical pressure right behind your eyes.
Yes, that pressure.
And it starts to turn into a hum, like the static of a radio left on in an empty room. And then beneath that static, there's a voice.
And it's not the voice you use to order coffee, right? Or the professional tone you use in your morning meetings.
Not at all.
It doesn't even call you by your adult name. It uses your smaller name, like a childhood nickname.
Yeah.
Something with a lisp, or a name that ends with a vowel stretched out, a name you have effectively paved over and, just buried.
And that detail is so crucial because it immediately bypasses all your adult defenses.
Oh, yeah.
This voice brings you right back to a very specific sensory memory of childhood. Standing in a dark closet, smelling wool and old mothballs, just listening to the house settle around you.
That's such a vivid image.
And from that deeply buried place, this voice starts asking questions you were never, ever ready to answer.
Questions like, what do you want when no one is watching?
Yeah.
Or who would you be if shame had never learned your address?
It's profound.
It's super heavy stuff. Okay, let's unpack this. When I first read this, I immediately thought of technology.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like, is this voice essentially like a neglected background app on our phone?
Yeah.
Just quietly, relentlessly draining the battery of our psyche because we keep ignoring its notifications.
Right, swiping them away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Swiping them away so we can just deal with our everyday lives.
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize it. It is absolutely draining your battery. But what's fascinating here is that we usually think of a background app as something external.
Like a glitch or something.
Right, a glitch. But this piece frames it much more intimately. This voice isn't an intruder at all. It's a homecoming.
A homecoming.
Yes. It's the prodigal part of yourself.
The prodigal part. Wait, the part that ran away.
Well, more like the part that was left behind.
Oh, I see.
Imagine it as the version of you that was asked to wait in the hallway of your childhood. You left it out there while the rest of your personality walked into the bright, formal rooms to learn the polite language of daylight.
To learn how to behave, basically.
Exactly. To learn acceptable ambitions and reasonable desires.
So it's the part of us that holds all our raw wants. The piece says this voice speaks the grammar of want, which is, such a striking phrase.
It really is.
It's been feeding on every single desire you ever folded up into a little paper boat and sent sailing down the drain.
Yeah.
Every time you bit your tongue when someone took credit for your work.
Yes.
Every time you smile politely when you actually wanted to scream and just flip a table.
Precisely. It feeds on the unexpressed.
Mm.
And when it finally speaks to you at 3 a.m., it doesn't even judge you.
No.
It just states a heartbreaking fact. It says, "You have been carrying me for 30 years and you've called me stranger."
Man, that hits so hard. But like, if this part of us is just sitting out in the hallway, holding on to all our genuine desires who lock the door.
That's the real question, isn't it?
Yeah, how did it get exiled in the first place?
Well, if we want to understand the voice, we have to look at the architecture of how we built that wall. We often think of repression as the result of a single, massive, violent trauma.
Like a definitive, terrible event.
Right. But the concept explored here is that repression is usually slow sedimentation, grain by grain, year by year.
Right. The imagery it uses for this is so vivid. Imagine a young child in a room with yellowed wallpaper. The child is just existing. They are exploring sensation without an audience, without feeling the need to perform, just purely being. And then there's a shadow in the doorway.
And that shadow is an adult. The adult doesn't even have to be angry or abusive or actively disapproving. They are just present.
Wait, how does just a presence cause a fracture, though?
Because children are incredibly sensitive barometers for the adults around them. In their presence, the child feels the first tiny fracture between what is felt on the inside and what is allowed to be shown on the outside.
But why?
Because the child absorbs the adult's inability to hold the child's need. Let's say the parent's own hunger for love or attention was never fed when they were young.
No.
They look at their child with the blindness of their own unmet needs. The child intuitively senses this lack of capacity.
They can just feel it.
Exactly. And they learn the first great psychological displacement. They turn the adult's absence into their own internal flaw.
So if my parent can't handle my loud, messy joy, I don't think, wow, my parent has limited emotional bandwidth.
No, a child wouldn't think that.
Right. I think my loud, messy joy is bad and must be hidden.
Exactly. Your wanting becomes a mirror reflecting the parent's lack. So to keep the connection with the parent safe, you learn to hide the wanting. You just leave it in the hallway.
Which brings up the guardian of that hallway door, right?
Yeah.
The superego.
The internalized voice of prohibition.
Yeah, it's like the bouncer at the club of your own joy.
Yeah.
And what's wild is how this voice always seems to show up right when you are on the verge of something great.
Oh, always.
Right when you cross into joy or land a dream job or find a healthy relationship, the whisper comes, "You don't deserve this. This isn't for you. You're a fraud."
It is the ultimate sentinel of the psyche. And it learned this hypervigilance back in childhood during moments when pleasure was paired with danger.
Or when love felt highly conditional.
Yes. Maybe the warmth of a parent's lap also delivered a sting of criticism. Or an embrace came with an unspoken demand for you to act like a miniature adult.
No.
The brain learns very quickly joy is a trap.
Okay, I have to push back on this a bit because I struggle with this concept.
Sure.
When I'm feeling intense imposter syndrome, or if I find myself actively self-sabotaging a great opportunity like procrastinating on a huge pitch until I absolutely bomb it, it feels like pure self-destruction.
It really does.
Plain and simple,
Right.
ruining my own life. So how can anyone argue that my brain views bombing an interview or ruining a relationship as protecting me?
It's a great question, and it feels completely counterintuitive. But you have to remember that this part of the psyche operates on a very primitive, childlike logic.
Okay.
The voice confuses safety with denial. Think about it, if you never fully possess something wonderful, you can never be devastated when it is taken away.
Oh, wow. So it's preemptive heartbreak.
Exactly. It believes that if you never fully arrive at pleasure, you can never be wounded by its loss. If you sabotage the relationship, you control the ending.
You don't have to suffer the vulnerability of them leaving you.
Precisely. It keeps you exiled from the things that make life worth living because, in its outdated childhood logic, that is the only way to guarantee your survival.
The tragedy of the repressed self is that it builds walls not to keep invaders out, but to become the jailer of its own desires. It's literally starving you to keep you safe.
And that starvation isn't just a mental concept. We feel it physically.
Right, because if we're locking all this raw emotional energy away, it doesn't just evaporate. Where does it go?
The body keeps it.
Yeah, the concept of the somatic archives in this piece is so fascinating. The body is literally a map-keeping score of all these exiled moments.
The somatic archives are where the body remembers what the mind has actively edited out.
Right.
You might not remember the exact moment you learned to hide your anger, but your physiology does.
The examples given are so relatable. That random tight throat you get when someone gives you a compliment. Or when you're watching a slightly emotional commercial.
Hmm.
That's not just random anxiety. That is the physical shape of a cry that was never allowed to be released decades ago.
Yes. And the hollow feeling in your chest, that is the negative space of an embrace that was withdrawn too soon.
Oh, man.
Or the chronically knotted belly, that is the coiled, tense potential of a boundary that you were never allowed to form when you were small.
The truth had to retreat into the flesh because our words became the tools of repression. We used words to build the polite adult persona, so the body had to hold the actual truth.
And this physical manifestation is deeply, inextricably tied to a concept that Freud wrote extensively about, which is infantile sexuality.
Okay, let's pause here. Here's where it gets really interesting, because this is where a lot of people instinctively flinch.
Oh, absolutely.
The term infantile sexuality makes most of us deeply uncomfortable. It sounds inherently wrong, almost, inappropriate to modern ears. How do we reclaim this as something that is actually pure and life-affirming? What does it actually mean in this context?
It's vital to separate the clinical terminology from our modern adult understanding of the word sexuality. This is absolutely not about adult sexual acts.
Right, it's something older.
Yes, Freud's concept of libido, or what we might better call the élan vital, is simply about life force.
Life force,
And-
like the energy that makes a plant grow toward the sun.
Yes, exactly. It is the primordial pull toward union. It's the comfort of skin against skin when a baby is held.
Oh, I see.
It's the pure, innocent thrill of a toddler discovering how their own hands work. It is the fundamental desire to dissolve boundaries and connect completely and joyfully with another living being. It is just the raw energy of being alive.
But because the adult world didn't have a nuanced vocabulary for that messy, innocent, sprawling desire, it labeled it too much.
Yes, too much is exactly right.
Or worse, it labeled it dirty or inappropriate. It told us it was something that needed to be managed, quieted down, and washed away with soap and shame.
Right, and energy cannot be destroyed, It can only be displaced. Because that pure life force didn't just evaporate when the adults told us to quiet down, it had to go underground.
It became dammed up, like a river hitting a concrete wall.
Exactly. And when a river hits a wall, it floods somewhere else. It gets diverted into channels that the adult world considers safe or productive.
That makes so much sense. So that raw, beautiful life force gets twisted into endless, exhausting ambition that can never actually be satisfied.
Yes. It turns into meticulous, obsessive organization. It turns into the hunger that no amount of food or doom scrolling can fill.
Wow.
It becomes that restless, achy search for a face in a crowded room that might finally look at you and see you completely.
Oh, man. So that feeling of, if I just get this promotion, I'll finally feel whole, is actually diverted life force looking for the unconditional love it didn't get at age 5.
That's exactly what it is.
So when that 3 a.m. voice whispers to you in the dark, you are numb or you feel nothing, it isn't diagnosing a permanent broken state of emptiness.
No, not at all.
It's basically a GPS ping. It's reporting the exact location of that dammed up energy.
Yeah.
It's saying, look right here. This is where the river was forced underground.
That's a beautiful way to phrase it. It's an exiled guardian. It is keeping watch over the temple doors, waiting for the day that you finally return, not with guilt, not with fear, but with reverence for your own life force.
All right, so we've found the GPS ping, we've mapped the origins of this voice, and we understand the physical and emotional symptoms it creates. But here is the multi-million-dollar question.
Okay.
What do we actually do with it? How does a person heal from a fracture they don't even consciously remember happening?
The turning point is a shift in perspective. It's the realization that there is no stranger in your head.
There's no monster.
Exactly. There is no monster in the closet. There is only a younger self that you haven't learned to welcome home yet. The voice isn't an enemy you need to conquer or silence. You don't need a mechanical fix to turn it off.
The healing process is described not as a battle, but as metabolism, which I find fascinating. It's the psychic equivalent of digestion.
Yes.
The idea is that this 3 a.m. voice carries your undigested childhood experiences.
Think about it physiologically. If you swallow a piece of food whole because you don't have teeth yet, it's going to sit in your stomach and cause severe pain.
Right.
The child's psyche couldn't process the overwhelming feelings of conditional love, or the terror of separation, or the sheer magnitude of their own anger.
They were just too little.
Yes, they didn't have the emotional teeth to chew those experiences. So to survive, they just swallowed them whole.
So it's almost like we swallowed a jagged emotional Lego piece when we were 5 years old.
I love that analogy.
And you know how much it hurts to just step on a Lego in the dark at 3 a.m.? Imagine that jagged plastic sitting inside your psyche, causing radiating pain for decades. But now, as adults, our internal system finally has the tools to break it down.
That's the perfect way to look at it. As an adult, you have now grown the enzymes of understanding. You have cultivated the stomach acid of compassion necessary for digestion.
Let's ground that a bit, though. What does the stomach acid of compassion actually look like in everyday life?
Well, let's say you absolutely snap at a coworker because they mildly critiqued your presentation.
Okay, been there.
Right. Your immediate adult reaction is usually shame. You hate yourself for being unprofessional. But the stomach acid of compassion means taking a step back, looking at that embarrassing overreaction and saying, oh, I didn't snap because of the slide deck.
You snap because of something deeper.
Right. You say, I snapped because my 7-year-old self felt profoundly unseen and criticized by my parents, and that raw nerve just got bumped. It's looking at the behavior with understanding rather than judgment, which begins to dissolve the jagged edges of that Lego piece.
I really love that. Integration isn't about destroying the 3 a.m. voice. It's about breaking it down so its raw energy can be transformed into something useful.
Exactly.
The fear that kept you frozen suddenly becomes the fuel for your creativity. The sharp edges of self-attack, which used to cut your own ambitions down, get transformed into fierce, healthy boundaries that actually protect your authentic relationships.
And achieving this metabolism requires us to look at our own fantasies and daydreams in a completely new light. We have to view fantasy as a compromise formation.
A compromise formation. Explain that.
It's the psyche's ingenious solution when direct expression of a feeling is forbidden. A child usually cannot openly say, I am furious that you are not giving me unconditional love.
No, that's way too dangerous.
So instead, the psyche compromises. It translates that forbidden anger into a whisper that says, you will never be loved completely.
Wow.
Or it can't say, I want to destroy the parent who is hurting me, so it turns inward and tells you, you are weak and will always fail.
So these 3 a.m. thoughts aren't objective truths about our worth. They are translations. They are the psyche's attempt to complete an interrupted emotional arc.
Exactly. The human mind requires completion. It needs the full arc from impulse to expression to resolution.
And when that's blocked,
When a child's natural impulse is blocked by fear or shame, the psyche creates a fantasy or an anxiety loop as a substitute stage where that drama can safely play out. It's just trying to close the loop.
so what does this all mean for us sitting awake in the dark? As we bring all these threads together, the profound takeaway here is that the unsettling, whispering voice that wakes you up is not a sign that you are fundamentally broken.
No, it's a guide.
It is an exiled guardian. It is literally carrying the map back to your own wholeness. It has been waiting patiently in the hallway of your mind, holding on to the pure life force and the grammar of want that you had to abandon to survive growing up.
It is waiting to be witnessed. It doesn't want to be medicated away as a symptom. It wants to be heard as a messenger bearing news from the depths of who you really are.
Yeah.
And the beautiful truth is, it is arriving now because your conscious adult self has finally developed the strength, the teeth, and the enzymes to hold this truth without shattering. The vessel is finally strong enough.
Which brings us to a final thought for you to carry with you and maybe apply outside of your own head. If our own anxieties and annoying internal voices are actually exiled parts of ourselves just trying to return home, what does that mean for how we treat the people around us?
That's a huge question.
Think about the traits in your partner or your friends or your children that frustrate you the most. When you snap at them to quiet down, or when you subtly roll your eyes at their messy, raw emotions, are you unwittingly acting as the shadow in their doorway?
Wow.
Are we pushing the people we love into the hallway, forcing them to swallow their own jagged pieces just to keep the peace?
It changes everything about how we listen, both internally and externally. When we stop trying to fix the mechanical problem, we can finally hear what's actually being asked of us.
So tonight, when your eyes snap open at 3 a.m., maybe you don't immediately reach for the glass of water.
Maybe you don't check your phone.
Maybe you just lie there, let the walls breathe, listen to the hum of the static, and finally welcome the stranger home.